Welcome. The purpose of this tutorial is to introduce you to the techniques involved in creating different zones within your building blocks. During the tutorial I will cover zone types, zoning protocols and partitioning. Further information on the topics covered is available in the help file. There are 4 basic zone types used in DesignBuilder, which are specified here on the Activity tab. These are Standard, which is the default option and is used for occupied zones, normally with some form of environmental conditioning. Semi-exterior unconditioned, used for unoccupied spaces such as roof spaces and car parks, which provide a thermal buffer between the conditioned areas of the building and the outside air. Cavity, which is used to model vertical cavities such as double skin facades. And plenum, used to model significant voids in the building for air distribution. For the purposes of this tutorial I will concentrate on the default standard zone type, and the remainder will be covered in later tutorials. Prior to looking at the physical processes involved in creating the zones, I will review the underlying reasons for zoning. Please note that some countries have specific rules to follow when zoning a building for the purpose of building energy certification and checking against building regulations and energy codes. Zones are created to enable us to assign different modelling criteria to different areas of the building. Typical reasons for this are different orientation of perimeter zones, as the different facades are subject to different external conditions such as wind and solar gain throughout the day. This has an impact on both the zone's thermal and daylight control performance. Different areas may have different activity types, such as an office building with open plan offices, cellular offices, meeting rooms, circulation areas, etc. The type of activity defines the internal gains due to occupancy and equipment. You may also create separate zones where you wish to apply bespoke activity data to the same basic activity category in some areas, such as different occupancy schedules, temperature set points or internal gains. Different HVAC systems in different parts of the building, and different lighting systems. As a general rule, you should try to minimize the number of zones created in large buildings, as a large number of zones can have a significant impact on simulation time. For example, if you have a number of similar adjacent cellular offices along one facade of the building, you could model them as one zone, providing they meet the criteria I just described. Individual zones are created by drawing either standard or virtual partitions to subdivide blocks. Standard partitions are used to create separately enclosed spaces within the block using a partition wall as a physical boundary. Virtual partitions create a new zone without creating a physical boundary. They have no thermal mass and present no barrier to heat and airflow depending on the natural ventilation options set, which will be discussed in a later tutorial. Virtual partitions are commonly used to separate open plan areas which have different HVAC or lighting systems. They are also used to model the localized effects of solar gain and daylighting in perimeter zones, typically by placing the virtual partition 6 meters from the glazed facade. Here we have an office block which needs to be divided into its separate zones. I'll start at block level in plan view and create a reception area in the middle of the south facade here at 10 meters wide by 6 meters deep, using a construction line to locate the start point. Once I have the start point for my partition, I select the Draw Partitions tool and set the required parameters in Drawing Options. Note that the partition wall thickness is set only once for each block, so choose the most representative value. I will enter 0.1 meters and keep the straight line and standard partition type options. You can draw partitions in the same way as perimeter lines. I start by clicking on the snap point and type in the desired length and press enter. The zone is created automatically by selecting the endpoint on the perimeter wall at the red edge snap. Note that the grey internal walls indicate a standard partition and that the second zone is now shown in the navigation panel. I'll now create some cellular spaces 6 meters deep on the south and west facades with the aid of increment snaps set at 1 meter increments. Note that we can change the direction of the increment using the tick box in Drawing Options to switch the measurement reference point. This will help locate the partition 6 meters from the west wall here. The 6 by 6 meter northwestern end office here is created as a fully enclosed zone as it has external walls on 2 facades, unlike the adjacent offices below here. The zone is created either by selecting the endpoint on the external wall at the red edge snap here, or by dragging the partition past the wall and left clicking. This method automatically trims the partition to the perimeter. There are a further 3 cellular offices on the west facade which are all exposed to the same conditions, so can be modelled as one zone using only hanging partitions. These represent the barrier to airflow between the different rooms and the thermal mass of the partition walls. Hanging partitions are simply standard partition walls that do not fully enclose the space, i.e. a gap is left between the end of the partition and the wall. I draw a partition towards the west wall. The length of the full partition would be 6 meters. So entering a length of 5.99 meters and pressing the enter key twice will produce the hanging partition, which is denoted by the blue line here. I repeat this process to create the remaining cellular offices. We may also need to create a perimeter zone for the north and east facades of the open office. Change the partition type to virtual, then place the partitions 6 meters from each facade. A separate corner zone will again be required to represent the area with 2 facades. Note also the different colour of the virtual partition. It's good practice to name the blocks and zones as you go for easy identification later. We can do this in the navigation panel by clicking in the zone name twice slowly, not double clicking. This enables you to edit the name and press enter to confirm the change. Further information on these topics can be found in the help file and other tutorials.